and just complain. Hey, a lot of people do. That's a normal response. If we complain loud enough, my grandpa always said, no, it wasn't my grandpa, my dad, squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if I complain hard enough, somebody's going to apply the oil. I'll get somebody else to do it because I'm complaining hard enough. As a reaction comes, we feel disappointed and discouraged. The water's bitter and I'm thirsty. We've been on this highway a long time. Nathan, it's a stony road. Philippians chapter 3. But I'd like you to keep your finger there because we're going to come back again and again to the same location. Paul says in verse 7 of Philippians chapter 3, "But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss, for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Christ." There's a satisfying thought that no matter where I'm at, no matter where I have been brought down the road, I can look at things and see what they are physically, Jacob, and get discouraged. But I know my Lord is faithful, and He'll see me through it somehow. I can't see because the road is too dusty ahead of me. God will deliver me, that I may win Christ. Paul goes on and he said, "And be found in Him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God by faith." Paul goes on, he continues to say, "That I may know Him, and the power of His resurrection, and the fellowship of His suffering, being made conformable unto His death. For if by, verse 11, any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead." Nothing more mattered to Paul than this relationship. There is a cry, but not a complaint. To know Christ more. Times of refreshing are to be received joyously and gratefully from the coming of the Lord, or coming from the Lord, and designed by Him to support, strengthen, and comfort us. But here it is, it's a hot day. There's nothing more refreshing than seeing water. Now we find the water is bitter. I cannot tell you what it tastes like. Has anybody ever went someplace and that water was terrible? Maybe in Tennessee. I don't know.
That water is terrible.
But I need to be refreshed. I'm thirsty. And the water is bitter. Let's go back to Exodus chapter 15. The direct result of the children of Israel was constant. Was to lift up and complain. Instead of realizing, regardless if the water is bitter, God will bring us to a place. My thought this morning is the road you're on bitter? Moses, verse 25, "And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which he had cast into the waters. The waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them." How oftentimes do we need to be proven? Are we having the stickability, the stableness to know that regardless of whatever we face, that we're able to endure it? That we're able to see it through? That we're able to call upon the Lord and know that the victory will come, that I might still have to go down the stony road. I may still have to partake of some hard situations. He goes on and said, verse 26, if thou wilt. Now I've got your attention. If thou wilt diligently. We're going to talk about that word in a little bit. Diligently. Hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God. And will do that which is right in his sight. And will give ear to his commandments. He goes on, and keeps all his statutes. I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. Verse 27, and they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. Did the Lord come through? Yes, he did. If thou wilt diligently, defined with steady application and care. Do I apply this to my relationship with him? Am I diligent about my care of my walk with the Lord? Now stick with me. If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in thy sight, he calls upon us to react. I've got your attention, and will give ear to his commandments. Are you willing to follow and obey? And keep all his statutes. With all this, then, there is promise. He says, then I will not, and I'm putting this in my own words, I will not put none of the diseases that you were eyewitnesses of back there in Egypt. I brought you from that place, and I've got your attention. But just as they did in the shores before they crossed the Red Seas. Now think about this. How long have we been Christian? How long have we traveled this life? How long have we been going down this road? And can you testify today that we have testify that God is faithful?
Amen.
You see the Bible heads going, yes. Will he not be faithful when you feel like you've reached the end of the road? Now there's no move on. They complained then, and they saw how God delivered them, and back again they complained. Hebrews tells us in the 11th chapter, verse 6, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is. Now there's more to that. And that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Matt, we've been climbing this mountain all day. We found ourselves a nice little pool. I've done that before. The guy that owned the land says, hey, put your cup down there. That's good, clean water. I looked at that and all it took once, Brother Grant, to say, absolutely not. That looks disgusting. But God is still faithful. Mm-hmm. He is still faithful. This water was bitter. It's not allowed to be tasted or drank because it's bitter. But it was Moses who was able to receive the instructions to their need. This came with instruction. How often in the Lord attempting to gain our attention to give us instructions. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 30. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 30. The multitudes were there with Jesus. And don't lose your place in Exodus because we're coming back, I think. We'll see. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. They were all eyewitnesses to this. Verse 31 of Matthew